welcome to another episode of Influent Network. This is Dr. John Scott as the host of Beyond the White Coat. I have a very, very special guest today, hence the shirt. It's Nostalgia Day. This is my Hawaiian shirt that goes back quite a few years. My guest today is Dr. Brent Bost. He and I were in elementary school together. And when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, he gave me his picture. And I remember that. And so when he would give lectures, I would put his picture on my forehead. And the rep started staring at me. And I think I was told I couldn't come back unless I was more mature. So I'm not sure about that. So anyway, I have known Dr. Bost for many, many years, and quite an interesting story. I've got to go back and tell you about it. We both attended Lamar University, and he was the drum major of all things. He was the drum major of the school. Awesome, awesome job. Then he worked full-time as an orderly, graduated in 3 years with 2 separate degrees. He was, and when I took organic chemistry, he was the lab professor. It was like, geez, I mean, the guy did everything. And so he went to Baylor Medical School, and that time had a 3-year program. And so he got out in 3 years. One night I remember calling him. I had a biochemistry question. There was a biochemistry, biology and biochemistry, chemistry. I called him up, and it was the first time ever that Brent was affected. The guy sailed through school. I remember going to class one day, raising his hand in histology, and he goes, adipose is adipose is adipose. It was hilarious. And he got up and walked out of the room after that. So what a quite unique individual. I do have to brag about him a little bit. He graduated like the rest of us, but 2 separate degrees, one in biology, one in chemistry. Then after he got his MD, he went back to Lamar and got his MBA, his CPA, his MHA, and then his PhD. He just got it. Congratulations, Dr. Bost. His PhD in healthcare administration. Oh, and by the way, we took MHA together. And then one night I was having some questions with economics, and you might have to correct me. I go, John, I don't want to lecture to you. I want to enjoy things together. Like, oh, excuse me. And I have a degree in economics. And I go, where the hell did that come from? But anyway, with all that said, Dr. Bost, if you don't mind me call you Brent, please tell us more about your colorful and interesting background.
Well, I was born in rural America to 2 impoverished sharecroppers and managed to get to medical school. So it's really a success story, don't you think?
It is.
Anyway, no. I was in private practice in Beaumont where I grew up. Well, I haven't grown up yet, but where I, chronologically grew up. And my good friend who was an accountant said, hey, boss, you own a business. And, doctors are terrible business people. And I had heard that from so many people, I started to believe it. And he said, you ought to go back and get maybe some business classes. You'd be smarter. You'd be more able to discuss things with me and forward your practice. And so I thought, well, that's a good idea. So I took economics and basic accounting, and then wound up with a BBA in economics, accounting, an MBA, and the rest is history. Sadly, anyway, it's a long history. I'm a student all my life.
5 kids.
The 5th one I don't count, but that's just a rumor. But just letting that go. 4 kids, and maybe there's another one. I don't know. I think you're my child sometimes, dude. So
yeah,
just saying.
Pretty much so.
I'm just saying. So OB-GYN. Why did I pick OB-GYN? Well, when I was a medical student, I couldn't figure out what the hell to do. I liked medicine because it was solving problems like House. Where's the mystery? How do you make the diagnosis? All these interesting things. And then I did surgery, took surgery, rotation, and thought, man, this working with your hands is cool. Hours kind of sucked, but it was a lot of fun doing things and cutting into things, etc. But I didn't want to do either one all day long. So what's a good blend of surgery and medicine? OB-GYN. You got all the hormone problems and infertility stuff, and then you've got the birthing babies, et cetera, which is generally good. Sometimes it's really bad, but in generally it's pretty good. So it just seemed like a natural fit. And at a party, I always wind up talking to all the women, and I don't know why, because they really don't. They're not interested in me for any other reason, but for some reason I could talk to the chicks and not the dudes. And I guess, well, I'm in OB-GYN for that reason. So anyway, kind of an odd deal. Not making the big money that Dr. Scott makes in anesthesia.
I want to retract
that. Charge like $600 to put somebody asleep. And one guy looked at his bill and said, "Wait a minute, Doc, why did you charge me $600 to put me asleep?" He said, "No, I charged you $5 to put you to sleep. I charged you $5.95 to wake your ass up." So yeah, that does make sense, doesn't it? What else do your listeners want to know, John? Because I can BS about anything.
Well, I do. I really want to say Dr. Brent gave me a list of really good things to discuss tonight. And for all the wonderful VIPs I've had on tonight, had on the other shows, we have never really got into finances, loans, contracts, things of that nature. And Brent sent me a list of these things. So I really would like to discuss those with everyone. We have all the medical students, all the residents in the country. So we have a blend of different specialties and things. So, but overall, from the 50,000-foot view, how would you like to start? Let's start with the medical students and move on to the residents.
Yeah. When in my travels with medical education, I do talk to students occasionally, and picking a specialty is a big deal for them. And just the way I picked mine is the way I recommended them. What do you like doing? What do you have fun doing? Talk to the docs that you work with. Don't just look at the procedures, but ask them about their lifestyle. What's their typical day look like? How do you balance home and work, and those sorts of questions? What's the nature of the work that you do, doctor, and how does it fit into your personal life? And not getting too personal, of course, but how does this fit? Is this a career I want? Do I want to be a general surgeon and be on call every fourth night and come in at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m.? And that's OB-GYN. No, that's surgery too. So, those sorts of things. Do you want to do that? Or would you rather work like shift work? So maybe a hospitalist or an emergency department, that sort of thing. Do you like to do things with your hands or not? Do you like to solve interesting puzzles? Those are all ways of figuring out what you want to do, what you want to go into. I think most students these days don't make much money at all. Your athletic counterparts in undergrad make a lot of money. You don't, but nonetheless, we don't really reward being as intelligent yet. But it's coming soon to a theater near you. So the finances for the students aren't as great. I think as far as residents, and I talk to them all the time. One last thing for students. Your school is going to tell you that you need 15 interviews and that you need to travel all over the country for $20,000 to figure out where you want to go. And I would say bollocks, which is English for bullshit. That's not the case. You don't have to do all that, but you do have to be realistic about what level of program you can get into. Most of us are not going to get into Harvard. That's just the way it goes. Living out of state is difficult. Pick a residency that meets your level of academic prowess, that meets that level that you can reasonably get into, in state, out of state. Pick a place where you want to practice, because when you get out of residency, those connections that you make as a resident are going to be really, really important. Okay. So pick a program that's at your level, pick a place that's close to where you want to ultimately live the rest of your life. If you have some special urge to do something really unique, sure, go there, try it, try to get in. But you don't need 15 interviews and spend $20,000 in a lot of time. Now, it's changed a bit because a lot of this is virtual, right? So you don't necessarily have to physically go to Boston and then physically go back to New York and then physically go back to Connecticut. You can do a lot of this virtually. And I think that's really made the cost different. But your school is going to tell you to do as many interviews as possible, because the one thing they don't want is for you not to match. because that makes them look bad. Not for your sake. They don't give a hoot about that, but they don't like to have unmatched students because it's a stain on the program. Okay. So just thought I'd mention that one. But don't spend a lot of money going crazy trying to do interviews. I think it's better being it's all, probably most of it's virtual now, but if you can do a site visit to a place you really want to go, I would do that. It'd be really, really helpful to do that. Once you get out, finances become a big deal. And John, I know you had similar experience to me that when you get out, you want to just do something like, man, I got a salary now and I can make some money and I owe some money, but I can make some money now and I'm gonna go buy a nice car or I'm gonna go buy a big house or something like that. And if you can resist that urge, you are going to come out way ahead. Okay. So if you can live like a resident, I think the white coat investor says that phrase, but so I don't want to steal it from them. But, if you can live like you're living now, you're making 50 something thousand a year. You're making 3,000 a month after taxes. Well, when you get out and make 220 or 225 as a starting salary, you're making $14,000 a month after taxes. Do you think that your budget could go from $3,000 a month to $14,000 a month and be successful? The answer is hell yeah, it could. So don't go crazy spending all that money on a big house and a big car and all that. I think you should reward yourself with something. A vacation is a lot cheaper because it's not a gift that keeps on giving. Car note keeps coming back every month. Dadgummit. And those house notes keep coming back for 30 years every month. So think twice about how you start out. Start out slow. Get the home you want for the next 5 years or so. Get a car that's nice. Maybe take a nice vacation somewhere. Take 2 weeks off and go somewhere fun. Spend $10,000 on it. What the hell? But, don't tie yourself into a lot of debts and things like that because it takes a long time to dig your way out.
That's very good. A couple of things I want to interject on that is, I remember doing a heart rotation when I was in medical school, and we were taking the patient back to the ICU, and the anesthesiologist turns to me and says, "Whatever you do, John, live where you want to live." I went, "Okay." It was during my residency, I would say. I said, "All right." That was one good word of wisdom. Two is, I've always learned this: live below your means. You can end up being house poor. You can drive by and see people with houses with no shrubs, horrible cars in the garage. They living above their means. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And what Brent was talking about, we don't know the medical climate anymore. It's going down, down, down. I'm not trying to paint a gloom picture. You're going to make a lot more than you ever made as a medical student or resident. But it is changing, I'll say that. And we don't know where it will end. But every year we fight for CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, to not take us down. They usually hit us with the 2.5% decrease, and then we do a Band-Aid. Anyway, it's the same battle every year. So,
and then cost of living keeps going up. And of course, this last couple of years was really bad, right? So, sorry.
And the other thing is what Brent was talking about is, I don't have an office per se, but he does. And your employees that are FTEs, full-time equivalents, want a raise, cost of living increase, insurance, things like that. And your reimbursements keep going down. So they need more and you get less. You end up running your tail off just to make ends meet. So always try and live below your means. I want you to have a nice house. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to raise your kids in good schools, things of that nature, but always try and live below your means. Great piece of advice. Now, we do have an expert in many, many fields here tonight, and I really wanted him to cover things such as when you look at contracts. Now we're talking about finishing residency, looking at contracts. Do I need a will? Do I need disability insurance, life insurance, term versus whole, loans, things of that nature, CFP, certified financial planner. Do I go and get out a big loan? Things of that nature. So we don't have that much time, but if you could briefly hit on the high points.
Okay. All right, John. I think one thing I want to share with the group is that everyone wants to stay in the city they train in. And remember, I said the contacts you make as a resident are very important. But if you stay in a city where there's a lot of competition and you want to stay in a big group of 7, 8 doctors, no matter what the group is, you want the call schedule for those 8 doctors, but you don't make the money when you're with 8 doctors. You have to share the money. So if you're willing to move out of the big city into the suburbs and maybe a little further, you can almost double your income. So don't buy that. Let's say, here's your contract for 200,000, 220, and in 3 years, you'll be a partner making your own money. That's not guaranteed. You may be without enough patience to make that 220 when you get off the contract in 3 years. But if you move out of town a little bit, like 30 minutes away, you may be able to eclipse that salary or double it. Okay. And it's not the first 3 years, it's the next years that count. And that's a lot of people get stung by that. They sign a reasonable contract, they work pretty hard in a group that's too big and a group that has too much competition. And at the end of 3 years, when you come off being a contract player and you got to make your own money, you got to kill what you eat. You have to eat what you kill, and that's all you get. If you're in the big city and too much competition in a big group, you're going to be in trouble. And so there are a lot of people moving every 3 years or 4 years because of this phenomena. So don't get snookered by that. That's a big deal. You're also a target for every investment idea on earth. I call those D to the 3 or DDDs, which are dumb doctor deals. And people are going to try to sign you up for everything because they think you're rich and stupid. Actually, you're rich and smart, but that you don't have time to really analyze the deal. And my suggestion is don't do any of them. Don't do any of them until you've been out for several years and had a chance to see your fellows in where you work make their dumb doctor deals, and that you learn a lot by watching them. Your insurance agent wants to sell you a gazillion dollars of insurance, right? Oh, you need like $3 million worth of insurance. Well, you really don't. And this is a much more complex discussion, but think twice. What the mistake most people make is they buy you're going to need 70% of your current income in retirement. And that's not the case, because if you've done your homework along the way and maybe saved 20% of your income along the way with savings or debt reduction, if you have debts when you come out of school, if you've been reducing that debt and saving money, you won't need that much because you get your house paid off, your cars are paid off, your kids are out of school, and you've done all those things that cost a lot of money. So your basic insurance at your 65 or 68 years old is basically just to bury you, okay, and any final expenses that you have. And so keep that policy, layer your policies with level premium life insurance. And what that is it's the same premium every year. That the lowest level might be $500,000. So I want $500,000 to take me until I die, 65, 70, whatever that's going to be. And so you have that as your base insurance, and yet that's level premium until you're 75. Well, you want to get another level, another $500,000 for the year when your kids are in college and things like that. So maybe another $500,000, but that levels out at 55 or 60 because that's your kids are out of the house by then, et cetera. And then you may want to put another 500,000 on top. That's for the first 10 years, 15 years. So these different layers protect you at each level of your life, but you don't buy the $2 million of insurance from day one and keep it to your 70. That's a ridiculous expense. Okay. And if you want to target the money you need in retirement, you need maybe 50% at your income level. 50% would probably be plenty. Most insurance agents will tell you, oh no, you need 70, 75%. Well, that's a lot more money that goes into the savings account that you can't spend and enjoy now today. So a lot of people work their butts off, give their kids their money, which Uncle Sam takes half of, and then you never had the fun along the way. So don't make that mistake. Don't overbuy insurance. Don't over save for retirement. But 20%, what do you think, John? 25% is a good rule of thumb. Put that much away all the time and pay yourself first. I've heard that phrase that way as well. 25%. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, if you could. I mean, some people are zero. That's dumb. If you could get up to 20%, that'd be great.
I think that'd be optimal, wouldn't you? I mean, you have to pay off debt first, but also put some in savings from the very first day you get out and can put money away, because the biggest dollar you ever put into the retirement fund is the first dollar you put in. That will grow to be the biggest dollar that you ever placed in retirement. So don't not save for retirement early on, but it's going to have to be proportionate. Maybe debt's 15%, 5% savings, and slowly morph that into 20, 25% savings if you can, once your debts are paid off.
That's true. There's quite a other things I want to get to, but we're going to run out of time. So when I run out of time, I'm going to ask Dr. Bost to come back and come in more detail. Other thing that's very important is disability insurance. Most time disability insurance cuts out when you're at 65. So hopefully at that time you're retired or close to it, or if you have a nice gig that you're working, is you can work it part-time, no call, any of that kind of stuff. So you always want to have the disability insurance. And one famous word is called ONOC, on occupation. So what that means is when you were to get injured or something happened to you, you get all that money and you're allowed to go and practice another profession like internal medicine or family practice, and they don't take it from you. You want to get the most you can as far as disability insurance, because even though you have to pay for it, it is something that you want to try. You'll never reach what you're making. Years ago, you could get it where it matched your income. Doesn't happen anymore. You'll be lucky if you could get up in the 15,000, 20,000 range per month. And that's a very important thing. Other things would be financial planners, investments, and things of that nature. But I really want to say I got to stop now. I think Dr. Bost, very close friend. I wanted to make a kind of a long introduction tonight because he has so many things to discuss with us. And so in the future, I would like for him to come back and we go in and break some of these more things down in detail. The other thing I really want to emphasize is consider getting a master's in business administration somewhere along your career, is because as we get older, we'd like to maybe go into the administrative role. We're not having to take the call, but we might lose some income, but we're not getting beat to death. And what I've learned over time is it's where you get the MBA from. You want to make that connection and network and the people that you're around and the classmates. I didn't get that memo earlier on in life, so I can't emphasize to you most. Go to the big places, the UTs, the TCUs, the Harvards, the Yales, the Kellogg's, because it's who you meet, the networks you'll make. But I want to say thank you, Dr. Bost, for all your time tonight. And I want to say thank you to all your students and residents for taking the time to listen. We'll get together more. But for tonight, thank you for coming, the Influent Network, and Beyond the White Coat. Thank you and have a good time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. We'll see you later. You need to pay me that money you owe me.
I don't know if I can.
Oh, I don't know. It's not that much. Take care, buddy.